The guys behind the From Corner2Corner podcast are diving deep into Montgomery County High School sports with the Community Trust Bank Coaches Corner. Join us as we talk local high school athletics with your local coaches. Whether you're a student athlete or a screaming fan, this is the place to turn to get the inside scoop before the next big game. And now it's time for the show with Sean Kiper, Neil Payne, Adam Muncy, and Wes Crouch.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of From Corner2Corner Coaches Corner, presented by Community Trust Bank. Tonight we have the distinguished honor of interviewing a couple of fellas that have got champion on their tag. We've got Coach Christopher Cobb from the bass fishing team, along with junior Gabe Amburgey, who was the 2022 KHSAA State Bass Fishing Champion, and 8th grader Austin Hatton, who is the 2023 Kentucky Student Angler Federation Bass Champion. Congratulations, guys. Thank you all for being at the show. Once we saw you guys won last week, obviously last year, that's a big deal. This show is dedicated to Montgomery County, and so we want to, celebrate that. Austin, I don't know if you saw it or not, but you were on Facebook as you were one of our KimSoft Athletes of the Week last week, who is, fantastic. We've been doing that since late fall, I guess. And I think it's one of the coolest things in the world that we get to do is just recognize our athletes. And that's one of the reasons why we like this show, is we want to bring the coaches on. We're eventually going to get to the point where we'll be in season and be, hey, how's the season going? Things like that. But, Coach, right before we started the show, we were kind of talking a little bit about this. So let's kind of clarify for our listeners. There's two different championships here. We've got the Kentucky State Champion, and then we've got the Kentucky Student Angler Federation. So tell our listeners a little bit about what that difference is.
Sure. So the KHSAA tournament that Gabe and Triton, his brother, won this past year is the actual Kentucky sports championship. So it's equivalent to your basketball, your football, your Sweet 16, soccer, everything that all our sports compete for is that state championship. Mm-hmm. And that's what they won. So They were actually the first team in Montgomery County to win a state championship team-wise in athletics, okay? And then the SAF is the Student Angler Federation, and it's a separate entity from KHSAA, but the SAF is associated with MLF, which is your Major League Fishing, and your TBF, and so they actually put on the KHSAA tournament. Okay. KHSAA lets MLF and TBF host the four regions, and then they also host the state tournament at the Kentucky Lake. Okay. So that's what Gabe and Triton won. Austin Hatton and Mason Witt went to fish the SAF Kentucky State Championship. So each state has an SAF championship each year, and they are fishing to be in the top 10% of however many boats there are to compete at nationals in Wisconsin on the Mississippi River. Well, this year, there were 200 boats, and we had 6 teams that went to compete. The thing about the SAF is you have to have a high school student as one of the anglers. Okay. So Austin, being an 8th grader, had a friend, Mason Witt, who did not have a boat at this time to fish. And so Austin was like, hey, I have a middle school partner for the regular season. Well, you want to go fish this with me? Yeah. And so they actually aren't partners, and they got together, went to Lake Cumberland, competed against 200 boats, and won.
There you go.
And so
10%. Who needs 10%? I'm taking number one.
Let's just win the championship. So they are going to go compete at nationals and worlds in June. late June on the Mississippi River in Wisconsin. And then there's also another trail which is encompassed with bass, which you guys have heard of bass, the Bassmaster Elites, all that. And it's through the Bass Nation, which is the Kentucky Bass Nation. And our students compete in that trail. And there are 5 trails for high school students, middle and high school students in the state of Kentucky. There's 5 trails. And Montgomery County actually hosts the Eastern Trail. And we have fished 2 of our 4 qualifiers. We fished at, what was the first one? Oh, my goodness. Where was it? The second one was Cave Run. Yeah, we did Cave Run. We're going to Yatesville Saturday, and then next Saturday we'll be at Cave Run as well. Okay. Oh, the first one was the Bradley Roy. Okay. Bradley Roy is a Major League Fishing a pro, and he actually hosts a tournament every year at Lake Cumberland, and that's the first tournament for all the KBN trails. And so we actually have a chance to get kids qualified for that state tournament, which will happen the second week in June on Barren River.
Oh, and man, I love Barren River.
Yeah, and so then they're going to fish for the state title in the the Kentucky Bass Nation, and they can go fish a nationals for bass. So they can actually go fish in Florida. They can go fish at Tennessee. Any of these Bass Nation tournaments or bass tournaments for high school, they can go fish any of them because they're members of the Kentucky Bass Nation.
That's awesome.
So we really tried to expand in the last couple of years the opportunities for our student anglers to go fish bigger tournaments and give them a chance to, find success even outside of just fishing at Cave Run or within our team.
I mean, that's awesome. I mean, first of all, I'm jealous as all get out because I grew up in a boat, and my dad we fished a lot. They didn't have this when I was in high school, or I would have been like you guys. I would have been wanting to do that. And,
Sean's in a John boat over there rowing.
Nerd confession here. I watched the Bassmasters Classic.
That's right.
From beginning to end every year. So that's kind of a big deal.
I actually went. I was in Knoxville.
Oh, nice.
And watching the Bassmasters, and I was texting Austin's dad, and we were going back and forth. We're like, Aaron was saying, he was texting back, we have 17 pounds. I was like, you're going to win.
Yeah.
We kept texting back and forth. And finally it came down, and he's like, we won. I was like, yeah,
that's
you
fantastic.
did.
And that was on Cumberland, right?
It was.
That's what I thought. And then you guys fish on Kentucky for the state title, right?
So how long has Montgomery County had a bass fishing program?
I believe it's 9 years now.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe it's 9 years.
That's
now.
pretty cool.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is. So, Gabe, how long have you been fishing? I mean, have you grown up fishing from?
Yeah, I pretty much grew up in a boat since I could walk.
Gotcha. That's so. Any favorite place that you like to fish, other than locally, outside of Kentucky or inside Kentucky?
Cumberland's probably my favorite.
Yeah.
He said anytime he can win a state title.
Oh yeah, there you go. That's what I'm wanting.
Right.
What about you? What about you, Austin? How?
I haven't been fishing my whole life. I started fishing on a boat like 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay.
I got started when somebody from my mom's work took me to Cave Run, and we ended up catching like 5 or 6 pounds worth of bass.
Nice.
And that got me started into it.
Cool.
There's nothing like it, right? So I'm curious, like with the coaching, it's a team weight, right? And so you got both anglers are going for the total pounds. Are you in the boat with them as the coach? Are you the driver? Is that how that works?
It's a unique situation with our sport.
Yeah.
Our team cannot be done without parents.
Okay.
There's no way we can do it. So shout out to all our parents. Our parents are our boat captains.
Okay.
I do take students out when we have boat issues, when we have students that may have to miss a weekend, they have prior obligations, things like that. I take students and take them out, and they fish as a team.
Yeah.
So we actually have 27 teams
Wow.
within our whole team. So we have 50, and I know that adds up to 54, but we actually have 55 students this year that are on our bass fishing team. So we have a very large team, and because of that,
Increases the odds of winning, right?
absolutely. Well, sure. Because of that, we actually have to do qualifiers within our entire year. So we'll have 8 qualifiers this year, but we had to cancel 2 because of weather. So we have 6 qualifiers this year, and they fish for points.
Okay.
So, team number 1 that wins the tournament, you get 100 points, 99. If you blank but you fish, you get 20 points. And they're actually fishing to be the top 6 of all our teams, because we can only take 6 teams to our KHSAA regional tournament for Region 4 at Cave Run.
So you got to compete against your own teammates in order to be able to get to that point.
And let's talk. That's why we're so successful.
Right.
They're having to run a gauntlet every tournament we have because they're having to compete against the best of the best who are on our team.
Yeah.
And so all our teams are having to compete and stay in that, that mindset every tournament.
Yeah.
So they go to big tournaments and are like, what's this? It's just a few more teams. We've been competing against Gabe and Triton all year. We've been going against Joe and Luke all year. We've been going against Elijah and Will all year. I mean, they all are making each other better because they're having to compete against each other.
There's
to
nothing
make
like
the top 6.
natural born competition, right?
Absolutely. So that is one of the things that sets us apart from other teams in the state.
Yeah.
Is we have so many teams.
So I'm sorry.
So how much coaching do you get
Sure.
to do on the boat? I mean, is it just you drive them out and then it's up to them? Or?
Sure. So our boat captains are our, let's take Gabe and Triton, for instance. Their dad is a very good fisherman.
Okay.
Very good fisherman. I fish against him, in our Saturday tournaments.
Did you say his brother's
things.
name is Triton?
Triton.
Well, we
yes.
know where that name comes from.
Yeah, right. And
Triton's
so,
a boat brand. I don't know if you guys know that.
Absolutely.
And so our boat captains do a lot of the coaching and teaching for us out on the water. And so that helps our whole team because they're learning from veterans, from pros, from, dads that have fished forever.
Yeah.
So what does that look like? What does coaching on the boat look like? Is it, hey, try this bait. Hey, cast over here. What does that coaching look like?
Absolutely. So that's what that looks like. They can't touch rods, they can't touch reels. Our boat captains cannot fish at all. They are there to drive the boat. All right. So student athletes are able to run their own trolling motor. They're able to fish. They're able to tell coaches where they'd like to go. The coaches can make some of those decisions as well. But as they're fishing and some of our younger students, as they're learning, our boat captains do help them in, hey, it's kind of windy. This is a rock bank. Might be good. Put on a crankbait today.
Right.
They give suggestions.
Gotcha.
They give suggestions. But, the students learn by going out and fishing.
Right.
And most of our students do most of their learning in the summertime when they fish some little tournaments with dad, and
Right.
dad can fish.
Yeah.
And they're learning from, dad, we actually have grandpas that boat captain. We have neighbors that boat captain. We have volunteers that just don't even have kids on the team that will boat captain.
I'm going to buy a boat. I'm going to buy a boat just so I can captain.
But talk to Gabe and Austin more about what they do out on the water.
Well, and I that's really cool because I've always wondered about that. Now, do you guys get to practice? I mean, because I know with BASS, they'll practice the week prior to the tournament. I don't know. Do you get that obligation to go practice?
So with some of the bigger tournaments, we'll get like a day off school or something to go up there to practice. But most of it, if we're going to go practice, we have to take off school and give a note or have your boat, like he said, the parents boat captain, so they can go down there and fish.
Gotcha.
That's basically how it
So
is.
now, are you the oldest of you and your brother?
Yeah.
Okay. So he's following in your path then.
Yeah, he's a freshman.
Okay.
How is it being on the boat with Dad?
It's all right. It's pretty good. You ain't got to worry about saying nothing. You ain't got to worry about the feelings as much.
Yeah, because he'll straight up tell you if you're not doing it right, right?
Yeah.
So who was your captain during this last tournament?
My dad was our boat captain.
Okay. And so you and Mason just got together and fished that tournament. That was the first tournament you all fished.
Yes, sir.
That's pretty cool. I know Mason pretty well. We actually lived right up the road from them, and I know that Mason's worked pretty hard with Eric Kearns quite a bit.
And you know, a lot of our student anglers fish tournaments outside the season.
Yeah.
I know Mason has fished with Eric as well. I've taken Elijah and I've fished tournaments together. I've taken Will, and this is off, out of school.
Sure.
Summertime, those types of things, where our rules and guidelines are more lax because we're out of season. And so a lot of our student anglers and their dads will fish the Tuesday nighters or Thursday nighters, or they'll go fish a tournament together. And those dads and those myself will we work with the kids and they get better by fishing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, question: fishing in a tournament, and you've hooked what you think is just a monster, and you get it to the boat, and you're like, "It's not a bass." How did it, has that happened to you? And is it that disappointing that I'm thinking of?
Many times. It kind of just destroys you because you think you have it won for a second.
Yeah.
And then it's just a catfish or something stupid.
And then you're like, I wasted all that time.
Yeah, basically.
For this. And now are there rules as specific as like BAS, like you can't catch it on the outside, because I know if it's hooked on the outside and not in the lip,
right,
it doesn't count in BASS.
That's with sight fishing, yeah.
Yeah.
And so our tournament coming up this Saturday, that's a discussion we'll have. We have a Zoom meeting every Thursday before a tournament to go over the rules with the students and the boat captains and to give them their boat numbers. We do a boat draw, virtual boat draw and stuff. And that's one of the conversations we have to have this Thursday because we're going to Yatesville. And this time of year, it's starting to set up that there could be some bedded fish.
Yeah.
And we'll have to have that conversation with
So
them.
when you say sight fishing, you mean like if you're seeing them on the bed, you can't just throw it in there and hook it like that.
Exactly.
If you're just normally fishing and you wind up doing that and you're not seeing that, it counts or it doesn't count? Okay. All right. Well, I mean, I know there are a lot of rules to it, and I know the fish have to stay alive and all that stuff. And so it's fascinating the way this industry, I guess is what you would call it, has grown. I mean, because it was big when I was a kid, and it's even bigger now. I mean, just the fact that we have 55 kids, we don't have that many people that are interested in basketball. And so, it's like, my daughter bowls, and so, we had a huge bowling team this year, and the boys bowling team, they finished second in the state tournament. Right. They got close. And so, but a lot of these non-traditional sports, our EA sports team, I mean, it's amazing to me. Yeah, Mark Trial, they're just killing
fire right now.
Yeah.
And you spoke of your daughter. We actually have young ladies that fish.
Okay.
On our team, we have a team that is 2 girls all together.
Okay.
Sarah Kate Lansdale and Hagen Steele's Team Pink Crocs is what they call themselves. And they are actually in our top 6.
Nice.
Yeah, they are actually in our top 6. I see your Pink Crocs there.
Neil's rocking them.
And we have 2 other young ladies that fish on our team. And so since I'm on the clock here, I'll just tell you, it sounds like KHSAA is going to be working towards having an all-girl state championship, either this year or next year. They're leaning towards doing it this year, where if it's a team of girls that has won that has qualified for the region, and they're fishing in the state tournament, and they are the top girls team, they're going to get a girls state championship.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's awesome.
So I mean, that's going to grow that that side of the
absolutely
of our team as well.
So what is the season? You said like in season, out of season. What is the spectrum of where you like? When's your season start and then end?
So normally we'll have our A qualifiers, like you said earlier, and we'll have like 3 or 4 in the fall, and then it'll go for winter, and we'll take a break, and then it'll start back up in the spring. So basically, out of season would be like during that winter time, and then summertime after it's over.
So it's like almost a whole school year thing, other than just the dead of
just
winter.
When it's cold. Yeah.
So we have our meeting usually the week after the first day of school, and then we usually have our first tournament either the first or second weekend of September.
Okay.
And we will fish through September, through October, and the first 2 weeks of November. We stop about middle ways through November because obviously we have a lot of kids that like the outdoors, and so it's deer hunt season and and hunting seasons. So our dads want to do those things, and then obviously you've got your December, January, February that it's I fish. Gabe fishes, Austin fishes, but we don't do it as a team because the water temperatures are, one that would escalate
you gotta be you gotta be dedicated to be out there in that cold weather.
The fishing's great during that time, but the conditions for safety are not ideal for our team and for our student anglers and our boat captains. So we have to take that into consideration, and we do skip those months, and then we start back up usually the 1st of March, and we'll fish the 1st of March, all of April, and then we'll have our state tournament in May, and then if anyone qualifies, they'll fish tournaments in June.
Cool.
Mm-hmm. So I know if my son has a friend that actually fishes for Kentucky Christian,
Right.
And so have you had anybody that's been in contact with you and stuff like that about fishing, fishing in college?
I actually just went down to Campbellsville Thursday.
Okay.
Yeah, it was Thursday, and talked to their fishing coach, and he offered me a spot for the 2024 year.
Nice. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, growing sport, obviously, is that becoming something more with colleges? I mean, like I said, obviously Campbellsville has one, Kentucky Christian has one.
Right.
I think Moorhead has one. Just knowing the local
Murray
area.
has one. UK has one.
Okay.
And so we actually have 6 alumni that are fishing for colleges right now.
Oh, gotcha.
We have students at Murray State, Eastern. Eastern has a one as well. Campbellsville and Kentucky Christian and Moorhead.
Gotcha.
The difference between Campbellsville and Kentucky Christian and Georgetown College has one. They actually offer scholarships, and they're an actual team. Their school sponsors them as a team. Your Murray State, your Moorhead, your Eastern, it's a club. So the kids have to make their own money through fundraisers or pay their own way.
Gotcha.
They have to sign up on their own to go to the tournaments and do all that. So they have to get a partner and do all those things. Where KCU, Campbellsville, they set schedules. They have coaches specific for that sport.
Right.
And they determine who goes fish what tournaments, whether you go fish MLF tournaments or bass tournaments. And they try to get as many teams qualified for the different divisions that they can. So some can offer scholarships, obviously not full scholarships, but they can offer scholarships that help with the cost of that particular school. And then others, it's just a club, and it's, they get together and say, hey, let's go fish this, and they sign up on their own.
Maybe Zebco will be giving you some NIL money or something like that. See, look at that, pulling out some fishing brands.
You looked that up on Walmart, didn't you?
Did not.
So
now our Kentucky teams our Kentucky college teams are, they're doing very well. Campbellsville's ranked 5th right now.
Did you ever think, Gabe, when you started fishing, that you would have a chance to get a scholarship to fish?
I didn't really start planning on that until probably last year, the year before.
Yeah.
I used to focus on baseball more.
Yeah.
And then I ended up quitting baseball, and now I'm more focused on fishing.
Well, it's a safer sport. You might not get hurt as easily as you can in baseball, but our baseball team is pretty good too, though. So, I think it's cool, and I think it's awesome that we're being represented well on all levels right now.
Austin, I have a question for you. So, seeing the success that Gabe has had, and he's going, he has a chance to go to college and get a scholarship. Does that drive you to hopefully reach the same heights?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it some after we won the SAF. I've been thinking that maybe I might get an offer somewhere, like later down when I'm maybe a junior, and I've been thinking about that.
So, you won the KHSAA with how many pounds?
So it was a 2-day tournament.
Yeah.
And our 2-day total was 25 something. I can't remember the exact amount, but it's 25 pounds.
And your biggest day was how many?
It was 13 something.
13 something.
Yeah.
And yours was and Austin, yours was a 1-day tournament?
Yes, sir.
And y'all caught 17 pounds?
Yeah.
Sounds like there's already some.
Hey, they were at 2 different lakes now. One was at Cumberland and one was at Kentucky Lake. That's a difference.
We're already.
Different.
Yeah, I don't know.
Kentucky Lake's like an ocean.
I don't know. It's already. Yeah. I mean, Austin, listen. KSSAA, you might be hosting 2 trophies in a row here before
Takes
long.
a lot more weight down the
But that's the good thing about it is that you even you as a junior is like, oh no. They just went down to, what'd you say, Cumberland?
Cumberland.
Okay, and caught 17 pounds worth of bass, and you're like, you go down there and do that again, I might have a whole lot of fishing to do this next time around. But it's good,
Oh, the one that gets them is when Team Pink Crocs rolls in with a bag of fish. That tears all of them up.
Listen,
Nobody wants to get beaten out of no girls. We know how that
That
is.
tears them up.
Now, is Norman the boat captain?
Norman is our boat captain for our young ladies,
And
yes.
I bet he just loves
He
that.
loves it. And he is boat captain now. Golly. Pruitt did it from 7th, 8th. So that's 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years now. Norman's done it, and he still has rigs coming. He absolutely loves it. Would do anything for any of the kids. He has taken kids out that maybe had boat issues, and he would separate the 2 teams. They'd keep their fish separate. Like I said, our parents are by far the best in the county because they support us so much, and they would do anything to help any of the other kids on any of the other boats. They want to see everyone succeed.
Yeah,
It's
absolutely.
awesome.
Well, I mean, Austin, you got your title early, right? So you got this SAF out of the way in the 8th grade. So you've got 4 more years to try to tack on these other 2 titles. So you might graduate Montgomery County being the only dude that won all 3.
Yeah.
So that'd be pretty cool. So, I think we should keep it going. Just keep winning them championships. And the competition within itself helps build that, I'm sure.
So, Sean, I was telling them earlier that I have a game of this or that.
Okay.
Fishing edition. So I'm going to ask you guys 2 options, and you tell me which one you prefer. I don't even know if we use these things around here. I don't know anything about it because this first one says Texas rig. Don't know what that means. So you prefer a Texas rig or a jig bait?
Probably prefer a Texas rig. I haven't thrown a jig much.
I'd take a jig any day.
listen. Neil thinks this is something in his utensil drawer in his kitchen, so he has nothing to.
Right.
What in the world?
So, my follow-up to that is, what the heck is a Texas rig bait?
So you got your bullet weight, which is just a little sinker and it's shaped like a bullet, and you got it on, and then you got your EWG hook, and then you just put a plastic on it. That's all it is.
Okay.
Pretty simple.
The
Doesn't sound simple.
The weight is further away from the actual bait itself. So
Well, it can slide.
So
So, like
it-
when you cast, it'll sink down, and then when you work it, it'll pull it to the sinker.
Who knew we
Kinda.
had
Boat captain.
a boat captain?
All right, what about a shaky
telling
head and drop shot?
Shaky head for sure.
I'm agree with them on that one.
Okay.
now that I don't know what that is. I know what a drop shot is. I don't know what a shaky head is.
It's kind of like, do you know what a Ned rig is?
A what?
A Ned rig.
No.
Well, it's a round bend hook with a straight shank, and it's got a football head on it, and it's got a screw lock, so you can put a finesse worm on it.
Okay.
All right. You guys could be telling me lies right now, and I know no difference. It sounds great, though. I can see why you both are champions. Jerk bait or swim bait?
Jerk bait.
Oh, that's a hard one. Probably a jerk bait.
Okay.
You get a workout with that.
So, Neil, before you ask the next question, because you asked that about swim baits and jerk baits, fishing's changing. The fishing industry is changing, and technology is taking over. And so you have your Mega 360, you have your Live Scope, you have everything from Lowrance Garmin, Humminbird, and those two baits in particular are coming to the forefront with swim baits and the bigger swim baits because of this forward-facing technology that the kids are way better at than any of the other older adults are. We're trying to play catch up to the younger people, and I know
because they're being raised in this as it's being developed.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Well, and
they're
because
getting
technology,
so good at it.
Technology, like with any sport, is becoming huge in this industry too.
Right. And so this industry, the technology is increasing and is taking over.
Well,
trolling motors are being run on they run on their own now. You map it in, they'll take you where you want it. It's an autopilot. Honestly, it is.
And it just sits there and holds you. Yeah.
It'll keep you in one spot. It will take you from one point to another point without you doing anything.
Yeah.
It's amazing. And these kids are so good at this forward-facing sonar. I mean, they're going to give me, pointers. They're going to have to teach me something.
So let's dissect that for just a second.
Okay.
This sonar, I know when I was a kid, you had these just little bitty blips
Dots.
on the screen.
That's
and
right.
You're like,
You had the little
is that a
dots.
fish? I think it's a fish. But now with the technology, they literally can see the image of the fish.
The actual fish.
Tell
us about it, Gabe. Gabe uses it all the time. He's good at it.
So with like the live, you can actually see them like swimming. Like if you toss your bait in front of them, you'll see when something moves on it, it'll like kind of flash, and you'll see the tail of it flash, and it'll head down, and you can see it just nosing your bait, and it's kind of aggravating, really, because you can just see them look at your bait, and they won't take it half
just
the time.
take the bait.
That's basically it's
that is insane. That is absolutely
and then like
insane.
your 360. You kind of use it more for finding like brush piles and cover and stuff.
Yeah.
So you'll see like the trees and the tree branches and stuff on it, and it kind of just shows you what's around your boat. And it's kind of like a clock, so you can take like your hand or your rod or whatever and point from the trolling motor, whichever way it is, and just flip right into it or cast into it.
Yeah.
Amazing. They're so good.
Hey, look, that's why they're champions.
Right.
Yeah.
So do we prefer shallow fishing or deep fishing?
Shallow fishing.
I like both, but I'd probably pick deeper.
Okay.
I like fishing big brush piles.
All right. What about clear water versus dirty water?
Dirty water every time.
It depends on what I'm wanting to do. So, like, a lot of times, if the water's dirty, you'll fish shallower, and you can't fish deep because they'll kind of turn off and it gets harder to catch them. But if it's really clear water, you can fish deeper a lot of times, and depending on, like, the wind and clouds and all that.
Plus, if you're sight fishing, you're going to want the clear water.
Yeah.
I agree with him.
Okay. And then the last one, vibrating jig or spinnerbait?
Probably a spinnerbait. I'll use it majority of the time. A lot of people like a chatterbait, but I'd probably go with spinnerbait most of the time.
Spinnerbait. That's what I won the SAF on.
So I mean, you're like, I win with it. I'm not going away from it.
Yeah.
I saw one on there that I think's interesting. Do you want to catch a 10-pound bass or get your 30-pound limit?
In a tournament?
The dirty 30.
In a tournament, of course, I'm going for the dirty 30. Brandon
No,
Ball
man.
style.
That 10-pound bass, though. Have you? What's the biggest bass each of y'all have ever caught?
Mine's not real big. It's 6 something, I think. I'm not
tiny.
sure.
No.
Mine's about 3.5.
Okay. anything over 5 feels different.
Oh, it's a lot different.
Yeah.
Once they get like that, you'll hook them and you'll feel their head shaking and you know you got it.
Right, yeah. So I wondered about that 10-pound. I've seen a few 10-pound basses caught online and whatnot, and you're like, my goodness, that's a hog. But I've never really seen anybody do that whole 30-pound limit online. Just watch them catching one fish. So I guess getting the limit is you're pretty much blowing everybody out of the water.
That's the main goal,
basically,
is to get that limit.
Yeah,
I mean that
yeah.
That's the only way you really can make sure you're competing is if you're bringing in 5 every day.
Got you.
So my last final question. In basketball, everybody wants to hit the game winning shot. Baseball, you want to drive in the winning run, score the winning touchdown, whatever. What gives you that feeling in bass fishing? Is it winning the tournament, or is it hooking the biggest fish of the time? Like, what gives you guys that excitement of hitting the game winning shot?
All of it. It's all awesome. Especially, probably what gets me the most excited is even just not winning, but when you hook a big one, like you were saying, that'll get your heart going more than anything. That's the best feeling.
That'll get that adrenaline pumping, right? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's basically what he said. What my favorite part is when you catch a bunch of fish and you have to end up culling, and you're going to do pretty good, finish pretty good in the tournament.
Nice.
So you can only keep 5 fish in your live well.
That was going to be my follow-up. What does that mean?
Any fish that you catch after the 5, they'll weigh them or they have some culling and get rid of the smallest fish because you want the most weight you can get.
Right.
Yeah.
They actually culled almost 10 pounds of fish for that SAF.
Oh wow!
They
So you were catching regardless. You were just killing them that day.
Yeah, we were on them that day.
Yeah,
Ripping lips.
ripping lips. Good job, Neil.
So I do. Last question I have, and I meant to get this in earlier when we was talking about the rules and stuff, but I have noticed here recently in the last several years, a lot of the professional anglers are doing the tactic of laying down and pulling the fish in and not grabbing the lip anymore. That was always the way I knew to do it. Are you all allowed to use a net, or you have to bring it in otherwise?
Yes, we use a net. So, my dad, boat captain, if we hook one, he'll jump up and grab the net and be ready when we bring it.
And that's during our SAF tournaments, our SAF qualifiers, KBN tournaments, our senior boats. The boat captain's actually not allowed to run the trolling motor or to net, but they can for our junior teams. So we have 2 different qualifiers because we are a KBN. We do a KBN trail, but there are only 4 tournaments that follow the KBN rules. And then the rest of them do the SAF rules. And SAF rules will let boat captains net fish, run the trolling motor and such.
Gotcha.
One thing that is a rule for both, no matter what, is the kids and the boat captains wear their life jackets 100% of the time.
Right. With these new technology now, they just got those little thin ones.
The little thin ones that blow up. Yeah. And so it doesn't really get in their way too much.
Right.
They're still a little annoying. They'll get your neck hurting.
Right. Yeah. Right. For sure. And so I just didn't know. I didn't know if that was a preference that these guys were doing now with the pros or what. But
a lot of times when you're seeing them do that, the smallmouth, if you grab the smallmouth on the belly, it calms them down.
Gotcha.
It almost puts them in a trance, and that's why you'll see a lot of them put their hand under a smallmouth because it calms them down and lets them release where they can just pick them up. They kind of almost freeze up.
And it's just a lot easier and quicker. If you got a lot of them smallmouth, they'll keep their mouth closed, and instead of having to deal with trying to get their mouth open, you can just scoop it up real quick.
And a lot of times they're using crankbaits that have treble hooks.
Yeah.
And if you've ever had a treble hook in your
Oh
thumb,
yeah.
then you don't want to try that.
Especially if they jerk on you when you're doing it.
Now, real quick, is there a time limit when you're fishing, or is it like daylight to dusk? What's the time frame?
So for our tournaments, I think most of them they start at 8.
8 to 2 or 7 to 3. No, 8 to 4.
It's 8
7
to 3.
7 to 3 is what we've been doing.
7 to 3.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, there you go.
But now, I'm sure, like anything else, you got to be back at the dock by that 3 o'clock. That's
you
not.
You have to be within the buoys.
Yeah.
A lot of times they have little chips or corks that have the number on it.
Yeah.
And you have to turn that in to the person at the dock, and you get marked off, and you lose points or weight. You lose weight after so many minutes past the deadline, and if you're up to 15 minutes late, you get disqualified.
Yeah.
Which actually Austin learned all about in the Bradley Roy this year. They had some boat issues, and they could see the dock. They could see the man with the net, and they were just right under. They went just a little bit over that disqualification time. So it happens. It happens. It's a little learning lesson. So Austin, tell them about what your dad decided to do when you all had 17 pounds in the boat, and you still had a little bit of time to fish.
So it was about 1:30 probably when we went back. We still had about hour and a half to fish, and he was afraid of the boat not starting because that's what happened to us at the KBN, the Cumberland tournament. And so we left an hour and 30 minutes early, and we had to sit there for the whole weigh-in for like 3 hours to see if we was going to win or not. It was a very stressful 3 hours.
So they had to watch 199 other boats weigh in.
Yeah. Well, I don't blame you. You got 17 in the boat, and, you feel pretty good about that, and you're like, yeah, let's make sure that we don't get late. We don't want to get disqualified with the winning weight. So I get that for sure. Well, guys, it's been fantastic.
Super interesting.
I just love being able to talk to you guys about this because, having the athletes on here is just added bonus. And, Coach, we appreciate you bringing the guys on.
Well, and, it's great that, football, basketball, they get the headlines, but you guys are winning championships, state championships. I mean, that's huge. So anytime we get the opportunity to talk about a field that you all, and you can look at the way you talk about bass fishing, you love it. And that's great. So I love talking with people that love what they do, and you all love what you're doing. I wish you continued success as the season continues. And sounds like maybe you had the chance to fish in college. So I look forward to reading all about all the great things you do there. So
yeah, absolutely. Again, we had Coach Christopher Cobb on today, Gabe Amburgey, and Austin Hatton. Fellas, we do appreciate you taking time out of your night to come on and talk bass fishing with us, and we look forward to seeing you on again.
All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Stay safe, friends.
The Montgomery County Bass Fishing Team would like to thank their sponsors, Kenmar, Momentum Construction, City Carnage, DQ, Kiwanis, Whitaker Bank, Hooks and Bass Bait Company, Howler Body Shop, Rumpke, and Traditional Bank, DW Construction, and Always in Season Florist. And as always, if anyone would like to sponsor the From Corner to Corner podcast, you can reach us out on social media. We'd be more than happy to take you on as a sponsor. The MOCO Four Horsemen would like to thank you for listening to From Corner to Corner. Be sure to go out and follow us on Twitter, on TikTok, on Facebook, Instagram, and even YouTube. Whatever podcast platform that you listen to us on, be sure to go out and give us a 5-star review. Thanks as always, and we look forward to seeing you next week.